Hello, I'm Kim Monning, and I'm here in Boca Raton, not far from the president's Mar-a-Lago resort. At any moment, President Trump could make an announcement that upsets a lot of people. While many will take to social media and share their outrage, some Americans could be quietly getting very rich. You see, every new viral post of people getting triggered by Trump signals an opportunity for investors. Whether it's complaints about cutting loose bureaucrats, videos of Tesla vandalism as Trump slashes budgets with Elon Musk's Doge, or Trump calling for a 51st state before throwing up another round of tariffs for good measure, the president's decisive and divisive actions trigger a lot of people. And it isn't just his political opponents. I'm talking about triggering big reactions on Wall Street. Trump is creating a whipsaw wave of opportunity in the market. And if you know which tickers to target, you could make massive profits in 2025. Just take a look at this. When Trump suggested taking steps to end the Fed, it triggered the banking sector to soar. Wells Fargo shot up 12% overnight. Then Trump announced he was ready to let RFK Jr. go wild on Big Pharma, triggering a shed of value overnight. Trump's plan to pursue our manifest destiny into the stars triggered a 51% single-day jump in space exploration company Redwire. And just a week later, the president's America First stance triggered markets into a tailspin. For every move up, it seems like there was another down. These whipsaw moves should come as no surprise. Trump said it himself. We should expect a little disturbance on the road to making America rich again. And while some analysts are seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, many everyday Americans are worrying about their retirement accounts. Will tariffs make everything more expensive or spur inflation? Will China or Russia be provoked to war? If there's one thing investors know, it's that uncertainty can lead to roller coaster markets. And President Trump has never been one to let people know his next move. But what if there was a way for everyday Americans to sidestep all of this back and forth and potentially profit from both sides of this wave? We're here in Boca Raton today to discover how from a man with a legendary track record in roller coaster markets. I'm standing outside the investing firm of market wizard Larry Benedict. Following President Trump's election, Larry has gone on an incredible winning streak, closing out Q1 with a 100% win rate in over 13 recommendations. A modest $1,000 in each of these trades could have resulted in a $4,100 payoff in under 4 months. But Larry says this winning streak is just the tip of the iceberg. Any minute now, we'll head inside and Larry will tell us all about the best way to tap into this up and down market using a new security he calls trigger stocks. These tickers offer everyday Americans the chance to see explosive returns anytime President Trump triggers a move in the market. Following a contentious campaign where the president called his opposition low IQ and lazy as hell, the president's win triggered pent-up energy in the markets. One of these trigger stocks saw an 85% gain in just 1 week, enough to turn $1,000 into $1,850. Days later, in his first post-election speech, Trump said people don't want men playing in women's sports. They want a border. They don't want drug dealers. One of these trigger stocks surged 128%, turning $1,000 into $1,278. And when thousands of detractors gathered on President's Day, holding signs reading "Deport Musk, dethrone Trump," the S&P took a sharp tumble. But one of these trigger stocks gave investors the opportunity to see big profits. A $1,000 investment could have turned into $1,514, while normal index fund investors lost money. Of course, these are some of the best market examples Larry has found. There's no guarantee that every trigger trade will give returns like this, but it would take years investing the normal way to getting close to the smallest of these wins, even at an above-average return of 11% a year. On the other hand, these trigger trades lasted only a week, meaning you can take advantage of these tickers to potentially 2x or 3x your monthly retirement savings. Pay off extra on your mortgage. Maybe get some extra spending money. This has nothing to do with risky crypto, options, or any overhyped AI stock. These trigger stocks aren't like any stock you've ever heard of. You can buy and sell them through any broker, like a stock. But unlike a regular stock, these new securities are engineered to give 2 or even 3 times the returns every time Trump triggers another hysterical reaction in the markets. For savvy investors, this roller coaster market could be far more valuable than any bull run. Now, I'm going to head inside and meet with Larry now. So go ahead, grab a pen and paper. Larry is about to tell us the exact names and tickers for his top 3 stocks to watch in Trump's second term, as well as the best way to play these roller coaster markets with the potential to pull big profits from minor pullbacks. And Larry is going to give the details behind a looming announcement that could trigger a tsunami of wealth worth $194 trillion. So turn off your notifications and close any other tabs. Get rid of any distractions. You're about to see a rare glimpse into the mind of a true market wizard. I'll see you inside. Hey, Larry, thank you so much for inviting me to your office today. I've got to say, I'm really excited to see where all of the magic happens.
Oh, Kim, thanks so much for coming today. I appreciate it. I'm glad you could be with me. And thanks to everyone tuning in to watch this. Taking the time to educate yourself shows you're serious about your finances and your future.
It really does. You know, Larry, you said a controversial announcement is coming in the next 45 days?
Well, this announcement will impact every single person watching today, as well as investors around the world.
Well, that explains why you were insistent that we had to have this conversation quickly.
I want to give everyone the details before it's too late. I've narrowed in on a set of tickers I believe will show the biggest gains.
Well, I can't wait to hear all about them. But before we get into all of that, I just want to take a minute for anyone who's listening who isn't familiar with Larry's accomplishments, because in the trading world, you're something of a legend. You got your start in the pits of the Chicago Board Options Exchange. Many of the best traders in the world traded on the floor. And you're one of just a few dozen trainers to be featured in Jack Schwager's legendary Market Wizard series. These books are like the Bible for many investors. And you're in there right alongside Ray Dalio. You don't end up in these books by accident. Let me tell you, you got there for a 20-year winning streak at your fund. Isn't that right?
Well, that's one thing that caught Jack's eye for sure.
Yeah, one of many. Between 1990 and 2010, you saw some of the biggest bull markets and some of the biggest market crashes in history without a single losing year. You, my friend, are a master of roller coaster markets.
Oh, Kim, again, I appreciate the kind words, but at the end of the day, trading is only about the numbers.
It is about the numbers. Fair enough, Larry. And you have the numbers to back up everything that's been said about you. It doesn't matter if the market's going up, down, or sideways. You always seem to find a way. Back when the 2008 financial crisis triggered a 37% crash in the S&P, you secured a 23% gain for your clients. How much was that win worth in dollars?
Some of my biggest gains have come when everyone else thinks the world is burning down. That year, we had about $95 million in profits.
Ooh, $95 million. Not many traders can claim a win like that. Let's fast forward, though. More recently, in 2022, you gave followers of your flagship service the chance to see dozens of double and triple-digit gains. Now, this is in what the New York Times called the worst market in 50 years. Those kinds of markets, they scare most people away.
Well, Kim, it's natural. I want everyone watching today to understand you don't have to be scared of the market turns. There's always opportunities to profit, especially when emotions are running high.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I profited from emotions throughout my entire career. But recently I looked at some market data from the last few years and I picked up on a new pattern. Trump's divisive actions seem to trigger market jumps. Look at this, Kim.
Okay, let's see. This looks like a Trump tweet sent out right after he was elected the first time.
Well, this one tweet triggered a $4 billion sell-off in Lockheed Martin.
Wow, interesting. Okay, even something as small as a social media post can whip the markets into a fury.
Do you remember how upset people were when Trump signed the Tax Cut and Jobs Act?
Oh, yeah. He triggered outrage, telling his friends at Mar-a-Lago, y'all just got a lot richer, right?
It wasn't just the president's friends that got richer. He triggered a $437 billion explosion in the markets.
That is another huge market move triggered by Trump.
Well, with Trump, I can go on all day, but let me show you one last example. This is what really cemented this pattern for me.
All right, I'm dying to see it.
In 2018, Trump's policies caused the Dow to fall over 350 points. Not once, not twice, but 6 times in 10 trading days.
6 times. Okay, so when Trump triggers emotions, and we know he does, if it triggers jumps in the markets?
Close, but I'm going to show you exactly what can trigger up to 90% of market jumps and how you can take advantage to profit on them.
All right, but before we get into all of that, Larry, I've just got to say, it's one thing to look at the past, but can you show us how these triggers work in live markets? I assume your win streak from Election Day through Q1 2025 has something to do with these triggers.
Sure, Kim. Let's look at a few, and you can see for yourself.
All right, let's do it. Well, here's a win for 47% in just 1 week.
And that was when Trump started saying he'd make Canada the 51st state.
Yes, that triggered an entire nation. Canadians canceled their vacations, they boycotted American products, and it upset a lot of Americans, too.
Well, it sure did. But more importantly, you could have turned $1,000 into almost $1,500 in just 1 week.
1 week. Wow. Okay, so let's look at these next triggers. You've got a 42% winner in 1 day. So what happened here?
Well, that day, Trump announced the External Revenue Service on his first day in office. That was triggering massive fear of a trade war.
And triggering a huge jump in the market. And let's look at this next one. 50% in just 5 days. What was going on here?
Well, look at his Truth Social post.
Okay, I see. Trump started cracking down on activists, and I know that triggered a lot of people on the left.
And apparently it was just what we needed to make this trade a winner.
Wow, that is incredible. You kept up a 100% win rate from Election Day through Q1 in incredibly turbulent markets, and these aren't small wins either.
No, most are double-digit returns.
Yeah, and theoretically, if someone decided to invest after seeing Trump retake office and they put $1,000 into each of these trades that you recommended, they would have profited $4,100. How's that possible?
Well, Kim, that's an easy one. In trading, it doesn't matter what way the market is going, so long as you find the right strategy, the right signals, or just the right kind of asset. That's what I'm so excited to show you today.
And what's that, Larry?
All these triggers and win streaks, they're just the tip of the iceberg. I think we both can agree that Trump will keep stirring the pot.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, he's not a man who's afraid to say what's on his mind.
Right, and it's never been easier to tap into these emotional triggers that are here right now.
That sounds like a dream come true.
Well, it is, Kim, and it's all thanks to something I call trigger stocks. They're a brand new type of asset introduced after Trump's first term, and they are a radical way to play this market.
Radical? Okay, what kind of returns are we talking about here?
Well, Kim, you could have the chance to double even a high performer like Nvidia.
Wow, are you kidding me? Larry, doubling Nvidia, that is a very bold claim. I mean, we got to get a peek here at these trigger stocks in action.
Certainly. Let's take 3 of Nvidia's largest single-day jumps over the last year or so.
All right, let's do it. I'm seeing 8.9% on January 28th, 8.1% on September 11th, 2024. And back on July 31st, Nvidia had an incredible day, climbing 12.8%. Wild jumps like these are the reason traders love Nvidia. And this opportunity you're talking about, it's got those beat?
Hands down. Look at the market example on how this trigger stock performed on those same days. January 28th, it shot up 17.3%.
I can hardly believe that is a one-day move.
It is. And when Nvidia jumped 8.1% in September, this trigger stock went up 16.2%.
Another double-digit move. I mean, that sounds impossible. All right, what about that third example?
Well, Kim, get ready for this. On July 31st, when Nvidia soared 12.8%, this trigger stock was like rocket fuel, and it was up 26.3%.
26.3. Okay, that is impressive. You undersold this opportunity, Larry. I mean, that last one more than doubled Nvidia.
Exactly. Doubling Nvidia isn't exceptional for these assets. Here's one more example of what trigger stocks can do.
All right, this is the worst day in Nvidia's history, a 17% drop.
That one day alone wiped out $600 billion in market value.
Ooh.
Look what happened with this trigger stock.
All right, am I seeing this right? It flipped that 17% loss into a 34% gain? How is that possible?
Well, trigger stocks, Kim, give you the potential to profit whether the market goes up or down, and the coming announcement will be like jet fuel on the fire.
All right, Larry, I'm hooked. You got to tell me more.
I believe Trump is about to usher in a trader's paradise.
A trader's paradise. Okay, hard to believe with all of the mixed signals we're seeing out there. Some analysts say Trump means economic growth, but BlackRock's Larry Fink says it could cause a crash.
Well, people can speculate all they want. It doesn't matter which way these markets play out.
Why is that?
Well, Kim, I don't place trades based on what could be. I like to make my money based on what is real. And one thing is certain.
What's for certain?
Well, Kim, we know people are very emotionally affected by Trump. And when this emotion bleeds into the market, it creates opportunity for traders.
Really? Okay, well, you're talking about volatility, right? The market making those big swings up and down?
Exactly. By March, the VIX had already surged 80% since Trump's inauguration, and it just keeps climbing.
The VIX, that's the volatility index for the S&P 500, the market's fear gauge?
Absolutely, Kim, that's right.
And you're saying that's a good thing?
It is for trigger stocks. The higher the volatility, the better they can perform.
Can you show us what you mean by that?
Sure, Kim. March 27, Trump tanked auto stocks, and a trigger stock in the auto sector popped 12.5% by noon. Trump said he could care less about automakers raising their prices.
Ha, okay, classic President Trump. And the trigger stock shot up when the sector fell. I love it.
The president's trade war triggered a $5 trillion loss in the market from a record high made in February. Again, Trump said something triggering.
Yeah, quote, what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America. Takes a little time, but I think it should be great for us.
Well, Kim, by the next day, the trigger stock shot up 34% and then another 56%.
Well, looks to me like trigger stocks make it easier than ever to play the downsides. So why do the markets jump when Trump says something triggering?
Well, Kim, it's all in a study by the National Bureau of Economic Research.
Okay, and the paper here is called What Triggers Stock Market Jumps?
Yes, and what they discovered was shocking. 90% of market moves have a known cause.
A known cause. Okay, that is shocking. I mean, we all know nothing in trading is ever certain, but 90%, that's about as close as you're going to get.
Well, Kim, you're 100% right, and nothing is certain, but knowing what's behind 9 out of 10 big market jumps makes me confident in my approach.
Okay, Larry, so what did that study find?
Well, the biggest cause of market jumps is U.S. policy, and every jump is an opportunity for traders who make the right plays.
Okay, well, let me ask you, what do those right plays look like exactly?
Well, Kim, in one day, Trump triggered jumps of 15% in Tesla, 13% in MicroStrategies, which is now called Strategy, and 31% in Coinbase.
Those are great returns.
With the trigger stocks, they're even better. 15% turned into 29%, 13% turned into 26%, and 31% turned into 62% returns.
All right, now you're talking. That's incredible.
Well, Kim, it even gets better. Tesla, Strategy, and Coinbase have wiped out those gains, leaving the buy and hold investor with nothing to show but a headache. Meanwhile, trigger stocks give traders a chance to profit on the way up and the way down.
So investors had opportunities to profit from both directions.
And Trump keeps triggering more jumps and more opportunities practically every single day.
Yeah, emotions are flying high for sure. And you've been taking advantage of them like the pro that you are, Larry. I really can't get over your 100% winning streak through the whole of Q1 this year. Now, Larry, we've seen that trigger stocks make profiting from a volatile market easier than ever. But can you tell us what these trigger stocks are?
Sure, Kim. They're a completely new type of ETF first introduced in 2022.
Okay, hold up, Larry. Wait a minute. You said that these were exciting. You called them exciting. Aren't ETFs, those boring index funds, kind of like a basket of stocks to buy and hold?
Well, Kim, not these ones. These new ETFs are perfect for traders. They aren't like index funds at all.
They aren't?
No, they track a single stock instead of a basket of stocks. But they don't behave like normal stocks either. At the end of the day, they're closer to an option, but even easier to trade.
I like that. Gains like options, but even easier to trade? Okay, how do they work?
Absolutely, Kim. Let's say a normal stock gains 10% and goes up $100 in a day. The trigger stock is designed to double or even triple that.
Oh, nice. Okay, so if a normal stock goes up 10% in a day, the trigger stock could get 20 to 30%. But let me ask you, what if the stock drops?
Well, trigger stocks are designed to magnify every move the underlying stock makes. If a normal stock drops 5%, the trigger stock could drop 10 or even 15%. But as you'll see, some trigger stocks actually go up when the market goes down.
So if you choose the right trigger stock, you could end up in the day with big profits, right? No matter which way the market moves. That sounds really hard to believe.
It is thanks to an amazing phenomenon called leverage.
Leverage. Okay, that's when you borrow money to trade a larger amount, right?
Exactly. That's how you can get 2x or 3x type returns. But with trigger stocks, you don't need to borrow money or worry about margin at all.
So the trigger stocks do all the heavy lifting for you.
They have leverage built in. You buy them like any other stock, but they multiply the market's moves daily. Even small shifts trigger big swings in their value. Sure, not every trade will hit. Right. But in a roller coaster market like this one, trigger stocks can really amplify your upside.
Yeah, we're seeing that today. This sounds like a huge opportunity. Now, when do we get to see the tickers that you're watching?
I'm about to tell you the first ticker I'm targeting for Trump's second term. But first, let me show you why I believe President Trump is about to trigger a wave of market jumps worth more than the biggest bull market in history.
Wow. Is it tied to that big announcement that you mentioned earlier?
It is. I've already shown you how Trump moves the market. Well, this announcement could be the biggest one yet.
Wow, Trump's re-election triggered a $1 trillion gain in a single week. You're telling me that's going to top this?
$1 trillion in a week is a great start, but I think this announcement could trigger a wave of volatility and opportunity like nothing we've ever seen. And I want our viewers today to be prepared before this happens.
Okay, well, Larry, I've got to ask you, if the announcement hasn't been made, how are you so sure that it's coming?
Well, at this point, Kim, it's set in stone. It's scheduled and it's coming fast. Once it's here, it could be too late.
Okay, so what's it all about?
It's a meeting where the Federal Reserve sets its monetary policy.
Okay, and how is this different from other triggers that we've looked at?
Going back to that study,
Okay, let's see here.
in layman's terms, this Fed announcement is the kind of thing that triggers the biggest market jumps.
Wow, I can see why you wanted to get us in before this announcement. That is big.
But there's something else that I think will make this bigger than all the Fed meetings that came before. For the most part, presidents leave the Federal Reserve alone.
Yeah, well, that's true, but that's a far cry from President Trump. He's called them loco and crazy. He even threatened to fire the chairman, Jerome Powell.
As far as I can tell, only one other president had a relationship like this with the Fed, and that was Ronald Reagan.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about this. I think it was back in '82. Reagan waged war with the Fed, just like President Trump is today.
Well, his chief of staff told the Fed chairman, the president is ordering you not to raise interest rates before the election.
Wow, ordering the Fed, that's unheard of. They're supposed to be independent.
And Kim, it triggered a huge move in the markets. I don't need to remind you of the bull run we had under Ronald Reagan.
Oh, yeah, it was the second biggest bull market in the last 50 years. From '82 to '87, Reaganomics triggered the S&P to rise by 289%. Incredible.
And with today's economy, that's worth about $194 trillion.
Trillion with a T. Oh, my goodness. Come to think of it, Larry, isn't that about when you started learning to trade? Around that time, right? It's no wonder you're just killing it in these markets. I think you were made for it.
Oh, thanks, Kim. It's true. I guess I was.
You were. But Trump hasn't actually ordered the Fed to do anything, right? I mean, it's all just bluster.
Let me ask you a question. Have you heard of Executive Order number 14215?
Let me think about that. No, I can't say that I have.
This new order ensures every agency is accountable to the president, even independent agencies like the Federal Reserve.
So he's already given an order to the Fed.
Well, Kim, it already happened. The wheels are in motion. I believe this upcoming Fed meeting is the big trigger for this $194 trillion wave that needs to take off.
Wow, that is incredible.
But I'm confident it won't be a straight up shot. In fact, I think it's going to be a wild ride for sure.
So hold on, because President Trump keeps triggering the markets with his tariffs, tweets, and trade wars.
That's right. Volatility is already 2 or 3 times as high as the start of his first term.
And it looks like it's just only going to go up from here.
Exactly. So while I believe $194 trillion will change hands, I don't think it's as straightforward as buying and waiting.
The best way to get a piece of this $194 trillion pie is to trade the ups and downs with you, Larry.
Sure, volatile markets like this are where traders shine, and every swing in the markets is worth 2 or 3 times as much with trigger stocks.
Sounds like it's as easy as waiting for President Trump to say something volatile and then buying a trigger stock.
Almost, but it has to be the right trigger stock, which is why my team and I have spent months researching, finding the best stocks to watch for Trump's second term. That's what I'm going to share with you now.
I can't wait. Okay, Larry, what kind of potential gains are we talking about here?
Well, since Election Day, we've seen examples in the market where these trigger stocks have soared. 51%, 85%, even 128% in just a week's time.
That means every day you wait, you could be leaving tons of money on the table.
It's not too late for you to jump in, but soon I believe it will be too late.
Yeah, with the Fed meeting racing towards us, right? And you really have a small window of opportunity to act.
That's right, and you may never see an explosive opportunity like this again.
Yeah, you're right. And, when I think about everything that you've shown us so far, we couldn't have asked for a more perfect scenario for trading. For the first time in decades, the president issued a direct order to the Fed. Trump is making huge policy moves in the White House. We've seen that. We've seen the emotion that goes along with it. And each of those with the potential to move the markets. I mean, he triggered a $1 trillion gain just by being elected, right?
Well, Kim, at the same time, we have this new tool with trigger stocks. which are especially designed to multiply returns in these volatile markets.
Yeah, whether the markets jump up or down.
That's right, Kim. The bottom line is that Trump is creating a perfect storm for opportunistic traders, and these trigger stocks I'm recommending are right at the center of it all. That's why I believe the companies I'm about to show you will be the best way to profit from Trump's policies.
You know, Larry, just listening to you talk about this, I can't help but wonder if trigger stocks had been around during Trump's first term. I mean, just imagine the wild gains you could have captured then. Apple, as you know, had an amazing run. From a low in March 2020, it rocketed up 146%. Now, think about doubling that kind of move. I mean, that would have turned $5,000 into $19,600 in just 5 months.
Well, of course, that's an extraordinary example, but that's the beauty of trigger stocks. Let's look at the flip side. Trump had to deal with a COVID crash.
Oh, yeah, right, of course. I mean, Tesla, for example, was riding high at $64.60 in February 2020, and then boom, right? It lost 2/3 of its value when the crash hit in March. Imagine turning that loss into a 128% profit.
Now, I can't guarantee gains this high,
No.
but if you missed out back then, I believe you now have a second chance.
I like the sound of that. Only this time around, trigger stocks will give up to 2 or 3 times the returns anytime the market jumps up or down.
My team and I have identified 3 stocks I think are most likely to give massive profit opportunities with Trump in office.
All right, for those watching at home, be sure to write these down. You can if you want. But to help you get started, Larry put together a special report called Trump's Trigger Tickers, 3 stocks to watch for outsized gains. You're going to find more than just 3 tickers in this report. Larry, why don't you tell us what else you've got in there for us?
Well, Kim, we could be in for a rocky ride as this wave takes off. That's why I've included 2 recommendations for each stock I'm watching.
Okay.
One trigger stock to magnify gains on the way up, and another to hand us profits on the way down.
And we're ready to play both sides of the wave here. All right. Pay attention because Larry's going to give you the first stock to watch.
This one has jumped up and down since Election Day. The stock to watch is Tesla.
Yes, I love it. The alliance between Trump and Tesla's founder, Elon Musk, is really shaking up the market.
Well, Kim, in the weeks following Trump's election, our trigger stock popped 85%.
Yeah, that's enormous for just 1 week. But with 2 personalities like that, it can't be smooth sailing all the time.
Well, Kim, you're definitely right. In February, Trump and Musk had a disagreement and Tesla crashed.
Yes, but how did your trigger stock work out?
Our inverse trigger stock gained 23% in a week, while the normal investor lost 19%.
Now, what about the downside here? I assume this 2x potential isn't a double-edged sword.
Well, like I said, this is a volatile market. If you play these tickers wrong, you can get burned. I'm including everything I know about playing safe and smart with trigger stocks in this report.
I'm so glad someone with your experience and track record is here to guide the way.
Well, thanks, Kim. I'll also tell you how to play another stock, one I believe will provide a lot of opportunity for traders who are paying attention.
And why is that?
AI is a huge part of our economy. Soon AI will affect half of the jobs in the world. And conservatively, the industry should grow $25 trillion a year.
Wow, that's a lot. AI is a huge opportunity for sure.
The next stock is one of the biggest players in the sector. When Trump triggered a crash in tech, the AI stock I'm about to show you sank 17% over 7 days.
But let me guess, your trigger stock turned things around.
Savvy investors had the chance to rack up 29% gains with this trigger stock.
Nice.
But that's not all.
Okay, tell us more.
On January 31st, Trump met with this company's CEO. If you invested $1,000 in our trigger stock when the market opened Monday morning, you would have had an extra $270 in your pocket a week later.
Well, I'd say that was a pretty good meeting then.
Well, with just one pick, you could have seen massive gains in Trump's second term. Here, watch this clip and see what I mean.
And to safeguard America's advantage, the Trump administration will ensure that the most powerful AI systems are built in the U.S. with American-designed and manufactured chips.
It sounds like the Trump administration is going to support U.S. chip makers. Is your next stock to watch a microchip company?
Well, Kim, you're very, very sharp.
Thank you.
The second stock is America's #1 chip maker, Nvidia.
Nvidia. Okay, all right, I love it. If you feel that you've missed out on the big Nvidia gains, trigger stocks can multiply your returns. And Larry, you've shown us a couple of great options. But how do we know which trigger stock to buy and when to buy it?
That's a good question, Kim. I got one more stock to show you that could deliver the most explosive gains of all. But let's take a minute to answer this first.
All right, I appreciate that.
Everything you need is in the report. Even if you're a newbie who has never traded before, you can get started.
We can do this. All right. And Larry, you're no stranger to pointing your readers to extraordinary gains. You know, I remember back in 2022, the market was in upheaval, and you sent this message we're showing there to your readers. This is something no one would be able to predict without the guidance of an experienced trader like yourself.
Well, Kim, 2022 was a bloodbath.
Yeah.
A lot of people lost a lot of money. $350 billion to be exact.
Yes, a whole lot of money, but your readers had the opportunity to come out on top.
Well, we crushed it that year. We closed out the year with a 100% winning streak, going 11 for 11.
That's incredible. Anyone who listened to Larry and followed his trades would have destroyed the market, while retail traders as a whole ate a $350 billion loss. Take a look. Reinvesting your profits into Larry's recommendations would have turned a $1,000 investment into $4,130, $5,000 into $20,648. And if someone with an average size retirement account had put a reasonable percentage into Larry's trades, say 10%, that's around $33,500, they would have grown their nest egg to $137,901. Larry, I gotta say, those are exceptional returns.
Well, Kim, I really appreciate that, and we're certainly proud of the work that we've done.
Yeah.
But right now, I believe that nothing compares to the opportunity in front of us. I want to give you access to this report right now because, like I showed you earlier, when these triggers hit, they move at lightning fast speed. In November, Trump's election triggered jumps of 62%, 85%, and even 128%.
Huge. I can only imagine what's going to happen to these explosive tickers when this Fed announcement hits. $194 trillion is a whole lot of money.
Well, Kim, I want you to be prepared to grab your fair share. That's why I highly recommend you act right now. Each day you wait, you risk leaving a lot of money on the table.
Yes, after everything you've told us, I truly believe this is the best market a trader could ask for, right? We have President Trump issuing executive orders. He's firing off tweets. He's even given an order to the Fed. And for the first time ever, we have trigger stocks to magnify any gains we see under Trump's administration.
Well, Kim, this could be an opportunity of a lifetime for investors who play it right.
All right, Larry, so how can we get started with these trigger stocks?
I want you to have this report that contains everything you need to get started completely free of charge. All I ask in return is that you try out my research service called One Ticker Trader for the next 60 days at no risk to you.
One Ticker Trader, that's where you publish some of your best trading ideas and trade alerts. Readers can access your 40-plus years of market experience. I mean, that's an invaluable resource. But I've got to ask you, do you only trade one ticker?
No, I call it One Ticker Trader because I believe the best results in trading come from focusing on one thing at a time.
Like the trigger stocks you just showed us, right? Instead of trading a basket of stocks like a normal ETF, they focus on just one.
Exactly. We focus on one ticker at a time instead of a wide basket. But it doesn't mean just one ticker for the rest of your life.
All right, that's good to hear. So it's really like having an expert guide your hand in some of the best opportunities around.
That's right. And I see a lot of opportunity in a volatile market like this. Prices overextend like rubber bands stretched to the limit. Then a trigger hits and the rubber band snaps back. When that happens, these trigger stocks move fast.
Well, that's why it's so important to have an expert pointing the way for us, setting up trades before the tweet is sent or before the executive order is signed and before the announcement is made.
Exactly, Kim. And as that rubber band snaps back and forth, we can often profit from both sides.
Well, Larry, you've already shown us your expertise playing the ups and the downs.
Oh, I appreciate that, Kim. But when it comes to markets like this, timing is key, which is why every reader of One Ticker Trader gets timely trade alerts, giving you a chance to get ahead of everyone else.
More than anything, One Ticker Trader is about seeing exactly how a veteran trader navigates the ups and downs of the markets.
That's right. When a market turns, I jump at an opportunity for profit.
Yeah, I really love that you give us step-by-step guidance that can really help everyone become better traders.
I'm there for you every step of the way.
I know you are. And here's an example of what we mean by that. On January 26, 2022, Larry, you wrote to one of your other research services, showing readers exactly how you guided them to a 38% profit in 2 days in a falling market, I might add. The next day, you wrote again, this time walking them through a 125% gain in 11 days. Then, when the markets turned toward the end of 2022, you gave your readers the opportunity to more than double their money with another 100% win streak along the way.
Well, right now, too many investors feel like they're walking in the dark. I never want my readers to have that experience.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that to me. And that's the biggest benefit of the research you offer. When you have a veteran trader guiding you, it doesn't matter what the market looks like. You just need to be prepared to seize whatever opportunities are in front of you. But Larry, wasn't there one more stock that you wanted to share with us before we wrap things up here?
That's right, Kim. We're almost out of time here, so let me tell you about the third stock.
All right, let's do it. You said this one could be the most explosive of them all?
I did, Kim. This is a crypto play.
Ooh, okay, I'm excited to hear about this one. We all know how fast crypto can move, and President Trump is easily the most pro-crypto president we've ever seen. He's already launched his own coin, you'll recall. He scaled back the SEC's assaults on crypto. He even announced a strategic reserve of crypto, like digital gold.
Well, all of this is great news for this stock. I'm talking about a company called Strategy.
Strategy, yeah, that's one of the most innovative crypto companies out there.
We've already seen incredible market examples of trigger stock plays on this crypto darling. One was an 86% run-up on election day, then another for 53% a week later. Even when Strategies hit a rough patch around February 20th, one of our trigger stocks transformed a 26% loss into a 37% gain.
All in a week's time. I mean, that's amazing. And it's all inside this report?
It is, Kim.
All right, to those of you watching, I'm going to show you exactly how you can claim your copy in just a second. But we only have a few minutes left with Larry, so I don't want to waste our time here. Larry, the trigger stocks that you showed us are the easiest way to jump into this opportunistic style of trading. But you'll also send us regular options too, right?
Of course. Options are how I've seen some of my biggest gains of my career.
Yes. Now, options, like all investments, carry risk, and you shouldn't invest more than you're comfortable losing, of course. But the great thing about options and the options plays that you recommend is your loss is limited to what you pay for the contract.
And the upside can be far greater.
Yeah, that's true. But just to be clear, past performance doesn't guarantee future success, of course. But why don't you show us what kinds of returns that you've passed along to your readers?
Well, Kim, here's one on September 14, 2023, that resulted in a 74% gain.
And that's from a 7-day trade.
On Flag Day 2024, I recommended a 6-day trade with a 100% gain.
Wow.
And on July 25th, the same year, my readers could have secured 127% in an 8-day trade.
Wow. I've got a question for those of you at home. When was the last time you had a chance to double your money in less than a week? I'll let you think about that. As a member of One Ticker Trader, you're going to get all these options trades with sky-high earning potential at no extra cost. Remember, you can try One Ticker Trader for the next 60 days at no risk to you. And when you do, Larry will immediately send you Trump's Trigger Tickers, 3 stocks to watch for outsized gains, completely free of charge. Now, normally a 1-year membership to One Ticker Trader costs $499. But because of the urgency of this Fed announcement racing down the clock, he's agreed to give us a special discount. Right, Larry?
Well, Kim, I don't want the price to be an issue in times like these. But before I give you the full details on this discount, I'd like to tell you about a couple of other opportunities I'm excited about.
Really? After everything you've just showed us, I can't imagine what could be next.
Listen, the trigger stocks I just showed you are a great way to take advantage of market volatility, but they aren't the only way.
There are other assets like them?
Trigger stocks are a small subset of leveraged ETFs.
These are more ETFs that let you multiply your gains in up or down markets?
There are more than 200 leverage ETFs worth over $100 billion. Each one could deliver 2, 3, or even 4 times the returns of their underlying assets.
Wow. Larry, I'm just letting that sink in here. 4 times more. When you tap into valuable markets where people are already making fortunes, the gains must be explosive.
They can be, but not every one of these 200 ETFs is one you'll want to buy. Some are absolutely crazy.
I'll bet. I can't imagine how it would feel to have 4 times the leverage blow up in your face.
That's why I'm going to guide you to the best tickers and warn you of the ones to stay away from.
Well, once again, we are just so grateful for you sharing your expertise with us. So let me ask you, do each of these leveraged ETFs track a single company like trigger stocks?
Well, Kim, that's a great question. And the answer is no. There are leveraged ETFs that track several companies at once or even an entire sector.
Let's go ahead and look at a market example.
Sounds good. Have you heard of the SMH?
SMH. It's a popular fund tracking the semiconductor sector, right?
That's right. Well, semiconductors went on a big run in April 2024 before peaking in July. SMH gained 41%.
I can't wait to see what the leveraged ETF in your report returned.
Well, this ETF surged 123%.
Amazing. Wow. That's triple the profits of SMH and the potential to turn your $5,000 investment into $11,150 in just a few months. That would certainly be a nice bit of extra change in your pocket.
It sure would. And another leveraged ETF we're watching tracks the FANG stocks, the hottest stocks over the last couple of years, including Apple and Netflix. Here's an example where this ETF jumped 43% in just 2 weeks in August of 2024.
Nice. And that's a lot easier than managing a whole basket of stocks, too. Just one trade, and you can access leverage returns of Apple, Netflix, Google, and Meta.
Well, Kim, it even gets better. There are leverage ETFs that multiply the whole market. 2024 was a great year. The S&P 500 ended up 23% for the year.
Larry, the NASDAQ did even better, rising almost 29%.
And one leverage ETF crushed both of them, surging 85%.
Wow, this leveraged ETF tripled the market. Remember, now these are some of the best examples Larry has found. There's no guarantee for how things will play out going forward. Just keep that in mind.
I believe the market is shifting gears, and the coming announcements could be the spark that ignites a wave worth up to $194 trillion or even more.
Well, Larry, you've got me convinced. A lot of people could become very rich very quickly, and these leveraged ETFs seem like the perfect way to magnify any gains from this wave. That's why Larry has agreed to give us another report. When you join One Ticker Trader today, you'll get immediate access to a report called How to Boost Your Profits with Leveraged ETFs. Inside, you'll discover the unique way these ETFs work. You'll find the details on some of the most explosive leveraged ETFs and Larry's best way to get the most bang for your buck with them. But that's not all. Larry, why don't you tell them about this next report that you put together?
Sure, Kim. I want to give you access to another report called Drill Baby Drill.
Yes.
How to leverage your wealth in the U.S. energy market.
Yeah, this one is especially exciting to me. I mean, on day one, President Trump promised to cut energy costs in half, and he's taken action on that promise. He's declared a national energy emergency, pressured OPEC into increasing oil production. And if you really want to see the difference in action, just look at your local gas station. By March, gas prices across the nation were down 69 cents off of last year's high, which is making a lot of people very happy, myself included.
Now, what if I told you you could have a lot more money in your pocket from Trump's energy policies than just what you saved on gas?
Cheap gas and a chance to pad the retirement fund? You gotta love that.
I've selected one ETF that soars as gas prices fall. Since the day Trump took office, this ETF is flying.
Yes, it is. That is up almost 30% the first few months under Trump's energy policy.
If crude prices fell 25%, which would have been a huge move, this ETF could turn $1,000 into $1,500. But that's only a small part of the upside.
Yeah, oil prices can only drop for so long, and when the oil market shifts gears, I'll bet you're prepared to jump on that opportunity as well.
I selected another ETF we can use to ride the upturn. I put all the details on both in Drill Baby Drill, How to Leverage Your Wealth in the U.S. Energy Market. I'd like to give you this and all other reports I mentioned here for free when you join today.
Nice.
Can I get some help with the trade, please?
Sure, no problem. I'll be right back, Kim. I gotta run.
Okay, all right. I completely understand. You're a working man, working hard for those readers. When opportunity strikes, you got to grab it, right? While Larry steps away, let me tell you about the incredible opportunity that he's set up for us here. In addition to Trump's trigger tickers, you'll also get Drill Baby Drill and How to Boost Your Profits with Leveraged ETFs for free today. They're yours the moment you take this risk-free membership to One Ticker Trader. Remember, the normal price for a one-year membership is $4.99. Today, Larry is giving you a massive discount. You can begin your risk-free membership for just $79. And remember, he's not asking for a long-term commitment. You can just try it out and decide later if it's right for you. You have a full 60 days to test out the service at no risk. If during that period you find that you're not getting the best trading research you've ever seen, or for any reason at all, you can simply call or email your VIP service representative. They'll cancel your membership and give you a full refund on your order. No questions asked. And you keep everything you received as a member at no charge. That's right. You can keep all of these special reports that you see here on your screen. This means that there's no risk to you at all for this offer. To make it easy to get started, simply click that button on your screen, and you'll be taken to a secure page in a new tab where you can review everything one last time. Look, if you're still not sure this is for you, let me just share a few messages from readers of One Ticker Trader. One reader said, Larry, in the past 11 weeks, I have made 11 trades with an average profit of 32.4%. I believe you are the real deal. Another reader, Christopher, said, Hi, Larry. I entered my first trade last week using your One Ticker Trader and made a profit of 23% in just 2 days.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping the common folks. And this one is really special because it says, Thank you, Larry, for my first profitable trade. I'm excited to follow your recommendations and learn from you. Thank you again. You could be the next success story. So go ahead, click on that button to get started and join Larry today. Speaking of which, welcome back.
Oh, glad to be back. Sorry I got interrupted by my analyst, but I'm back.
No worries at all. We're glad you're here.
And I got one final report I'd like to send to you, the 3 times retirement accelerator. You see, if you're trading a retirement account like an IRA, there are all sorts of restrictions.
Right. It gets pretty complicated.
Well, the way I see it, these restrictions are holding back the investors who need it the most. The top few percent of single-day jumps in the market amount to about $25 on a $1,000 investment.
Larry, that is a pretty slow way to grow your retirement.
Wouldn't you rather see 2 or 3 times that?
Yeah.
That's the potential leveraged ETFs unlocked for retirement investors.
And isn't it true those same restrictions keep you from shorting a stock so you miss out on gains from downward jumps?
Well, luckily, inverse ETFs offer a backdoor access to these kinds of returns in your retirement account. And with the 3 times retirement accelerator, I've made it as simple as possible by selecting ETFs that track the whole market. Now, I'm closely watching 2 ETFs, one that doubles the market's return and another that triples them.
That 3X ETF sounds perfect for investors hoping to grow their retirement accounts as quickly as possible. But is it more complicated or difficult?
No, Kim, it's simple. We trade the long leveraged ETF when we're bullish and the inverse ETF when we think that things are going down. There is a little more risk with the 3 times ETF, but the rules are the same for both.
That's why it's really important to have an experienced trader like yourself with a successful track record to guide the way.
The truth is, most people are in the dark when it comes to making the most of their IRA. But as you see, the potential for outsized profits with leveraged and inverse ETFs is huge. I don't want you to be left out, which is why I put the details of this retirement strategy in the 3 times retirement accelerator.
For those of you watching at home, Larry's 3 times retirement accelerator will also be yours at no additional charge the moment you click on that button and join One Ticker Trader. Look, I think it's become more and more clear that there are 2 types of people in the world. You can ignore everything Larry shared with us today and pretend that President Trump isn't a game changer for investors. And you can do nothing. You can just watch as this opportunity passes you by. Of course, if you do nothing, you can expect exactly nothing to change in your life. In a year, you might be sitting in the same place, while those who seize this opportunity have the potential to be much wealthier. But that's your decision to make. The other option, of course, is to take advantage of all of the work Larry and his team do.
We found the top trigger stocks that meet our rigorous criteria, and my team of analysts and I are devoted to watching their every move. I believe trigger stocks have an incredible upside potential in this Trump-dominated market.
Yeah, if we see the same kind of wave we did last time a president gave an order to the Fed, we could be in for a $194 trillion roller coaster in the markets. And the gains with trigger stocks are even more explosive, as Larry has shown us. So don't you think you owe it to yourself and to your family to grab a piece of that?
Look, I'm going to be straight with you. I believe missing out on this trading environment could be the biggest financial mistake of your life. We have a president in the White House creating waves nearly every single day, and we have trigger stocks to multiply the market's moves. It is a truly historic moment we may never see again. When the Fed meeting ends on June 18th, I expect volatility to soar.
And once it does, the floodgates will unleash. There's no telling how big this wave could be. You won't be able to go back in time and change your decision today. So I urge you to make the right move and join Larry's service. Now is the time. So please click on that button to get started. Again, here's everything you get when you take your risk-free membership to One Ticker Trader today. 12 months of precise trade alerts. You'll get instant trade alerts delivered directly to your email, telling you when to enter a trade, at what price, and when to exit. You'll understand exactly why Larry believes this is the best way to ride the Trump wave. You'll also get special report number 1, Trump's trigger tickers, 3 stocks to watch for outsized gains. Special report number 2, how to boost your profits with leveraged ETFs. Special report number 3, drill baby drill, how to leverage your wealth in U.S. energy. And special report number 4, the 3 times retirement accelerator. Aside from these special reports, you'll get full 24/7 access to a secure members-only website. That's where you can access all the issues, all the special reports, and video updates. You'll also be able to see Larry's full model portfolio and track record, where you can see the current open positions. And you'll get VIP support from Larry through his member services team. Please feel free to call or email them for any help you need with your membership. But remember, they do not offer personalized investment advice. Please click the button to get started now because, like you saw here today, each day you wait, you are potentially leaving tons of money on the table. With this upcoming announcement, the window of opportunity for the biggest gains could close very quickly. So remember, Larry has already made a string of recommendations with an incredible win rate since Trump's election, going 13 for 13 through Q1, giving his readers the opportunity to turn $1,000 invested in each of these trades into $4,100. Don't you think you deserve a chance to be one of them?
It's not too late for you to participate in this incredible opportunity, but soon I believe it'll be too late. Please don't miss out.
Yeah, please don't. The simple decision to act today could set you up financially for the rest of your life. I'm sure you'll make the right decision for you and your loved ones. Just click the button on your screen to get started today.
I look forward to seeing you in the One Ticker Trader. Thanks for watching, and let me help you put a P on the page.